Hello everybody and welcome back to the world of Beth. So today I'm going to do a tutorial on how to apply foundation and primer for a night out. Obviously you've seen other videos where I just do my daily skincare routine, which doesn't involve doing much at all. But if you're going out for a party or a special occasion, you may want to give that little bit extra oomph to your skin and make it that little bit more flawless. So it's really easy to do and you only need a couple of things to do it with. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clip my hair back because I don't want my hair getting in the way of what I'm doing on my face. Okay, so the first thing you should always do is make sure your skin is moisturized, which I did before I started this video, and I simply used store brand aloe vera moisturizer to make sure that my skin was nice and hydrated and ready to accept the products that we're going to put on it. Now the first one that I'm going to use today is my go-to primer, and this is Max Factor Miracle Prep. Focus. Oh well, you can't see it, but take my word for it. Ah, there we go. It's Max Factor Miracle Prep, color cooling and correcting. So I'm just going to put 1/2 pump on my finger. Now I particularly love green primer because I have quite a lot of redness in my skin. I think most people by the time you get to 40 also do. And I also have quite a lot of discoloration here at the top of my forehead from when I had acne just a few years ago. So I'm just gently going to rub with my fingers the primer into my skin. Now I know you've probably seen other channels where they go, oh no, use a beauty blender for primer. You can, but then you're going to need a different one when you apply your foundation, and another one when you apply the second primer. So if you don't want to spend loads of time on different primers, different beauty blenders, and then the time associated with cleaning said beauty blenders, just use hands that have been thoroughly cleaned and moisturized first. So as you can see, I'm just tapping using a finger into the areas where my skin gets the most redness, which for me is here, here, and then the discoloration here. You want to be very careful that you're not going into this part of the eye, close to the eyelash line, the bottom lash line, because you want to avoid getting any primer in that area, especially if your skin is losing elasticity and you have some fine lines and wrinkles there, because any primer is just going to get into the creases of the skin and it will look flawless and wonderful for the first 25 minutes. And especially if it's a warmer day, within half an hour you're going to start seeing crease lines. Okay, so I would advise not putting primer directly under your skin. If you're going out and you aren't going to put a lot of makeup on, maybe put a little foundation there, a tiny bit, and I'll do that later. But if you are going to go out and you're going to have some eye makeup on, you don't need to go right into the corners here with your primer, because we're going to be using an eyeshadow primer and a makeup primer in that area. So with your normal primer, just here, here, or anywhere else that you have any redness. Now the second primer that I use is not for colour correcting. This is just for making sure that my skin is ready to receive the foundation, and this is Astor Skin Match Primer. Now the reason I use this mainly is because it's got a really high SPF factor, and it's 25 SPF. So you want to make sure basically that anything that you're putting onto your skin, primer or foundation wise, includes SPF, sun protection, because it's just better for your skin. Especially as we get older, the sun weathers our skin a lot faster than when we were younger, and so something with sun protection in it is key. So again, I'm just going to put a little over the top here where I have my most problems. I'm going to put it onto my cheekbone so it will act like a little highlighter, and then just a little in the areas on top of my eye as well, just so that you have a nice even base on top of your eye. But again, remember, not under the eye directly. So again, just using small circles with your finger, just rub it in the areas where you have any problems. Small circles is always best. I personally only like to highlight my cheekbone area with the primer, because then that works kind of like contouring, but without having to learn how to contour, which is really hard. Okay, so I'm going to go over the top of my eye, right down to my eyelash line, and then up to my eyebrow, and into the corner, but not underneath. Want to avoid anywhere where you've got any kind of fine lines. So I'm quite lucky I don't have any here, but if you do, avoid this area with the primer as well. Okay. Remember, right up to the brow line, but not actually into your eyebrow, that's unnecessary. And you should just make sure that you can't see any streaks or lines once your primer's in. Pay attention to the areas where you have the most discoloration or the most redness. Okay, so that's our skin primed. The next thing you're going to need is a foundation and a beauty blender. Now, my beauty blender definitely needs a clean. I always recommend getting one this shape. You can get them online for a pack of 3 for like €2 or €3, £1 or £2. And they're great. They don't last very long if you wash them very often. They tend to break in the middle, like my old faithful did. This one here. This was my favourite. Let me see. I keep it for, I'm a hoarder. I keep it because I'm a hoarder. Okay, so we've got our beauty blender. The first thing we're going to do is take a little water, pop some water in the cap, not much, just a little. Then we're going to take our beauty blender, pop it in the top of the cap, because what is a beauty blender? It is a sponge, and sponges are designed to soak up things. So we want our foundation to go on our skin, not into the sponge. So if you put some water on top, it acts as a barrier, dab off any excess, and now you're ready to put your foundation on. So the foundation that I like to use is Revlon Colourstay. Again, it has a sun protection factor of 15. So I mean, if we're adding up now, I'm up to 30, 25, 55. Yay! But that's not how it works. So we take as much or as little as you want to cover your face with. So I've got like a pump and a half. And then we're just going to add it like we did our primer to key areas around our face in little dots. So you should have a nice spotty foundation covered face until there's nothing left on your fingers. At this point, you're going to take your beauty sponge and the damp part at the top, so the kind of pointy bit here. And then what we're going to do is tap. So you should be feeling it's a little damp, but not too damp. And this does two things. It's going to act as a nice barrier to stop the foundation from going into the sponge. Instead, it will go onto your face and stay on your face. And it will also act as a nice hydrator as well. And you're going to continue that all over your face, just tapping lightly and gently wherever you've put your foundation. Don't forget, when you're putting foundation in, to go directly into your hairline. Doing your hairline is really, really, really important. Otherwise you're going to be left with a line and you don't want a foundation line. The same is true with your jawline, so we're going to go down under our jawline with the tapping motion. And you're just going to keep going. It's a little bit difficult with earphones in. Until all the foundation is covered on your face. If you're going to be putting lipstick on when you go out, you can put some foundation over your lips as well. 2 reasons: again, sun protection, your lips deserve some sun protection too, and also because it makes a nice base for your lipstick to go on later. And as you can see, I'm leaving my eyes until last. That's because we're going to do our eyes in a slightly different way. Don't forget to do the inside of your nose. Okay, so now we've got to our eyes. What we're going to do is, again, we're going to dab, but much more gently this time, and much more with the point. Literally the point. Okay? Make sure when you get into this corner, you do a little twisty motion, so it goes into the corner of your eye. This time again, we're going to go up to the eyebrow. Try not to go into the eyebrow because the foundation will end up getting stuck inside your eyebrow line or in the hairs of your eyebrow, and it will look cakey, and the last thing we want is cakey. Okay, so we're going to do the dab across the top of the eye again, into the corner. Up to the eyebrow line. And remember, I still haven't gone underneath into the fine lines under the eye, but I'm going to now, but very, very gently. So the best thing to do is take your mirror, hold it in a higher position and look up. Very, very gently. Just tap. And there should be enough of the foundation on your sponge from your previous tapping that you'll get coverage, but you'll get such light coverage that it's not going to go into any of those fine lines and cause a problem later on when you're out. Remember, the idea of foundation is to give yourself great looking skin, not highlight your flaws. So, once that's done, you can take the bottom of your sponge and you can use it just to buff, like you were a car, any areas where the foundation looks a little thicker. So I always make sure to get in between my eyebrows and the bridge of my nose. And just buff on the jawline to make sure it's nicely blended and into the hairline, because we don't want anything to look cakey at all. Now, as you can see, I'm just wiping under my eyes in a very, very gentle fashion, and that will make sure if there is any foundation caught in any of the fine lines, it will be gone. And this is also a good stage to touch up, so if you find any areas that need a little extra coverage, go back to the end of the sponge and just give yourself a little more. And that, ladies and maybe gentlemen, is how you put on foundation for your aging skin. I would recommend leaving your foundation to sit for about 5 to 10 minutes before you start applying any other makeup to your face. So browse Facebook, have a look on Twitter, don't get too angry, or maybe check out one of my shorter videos. And when you're ready to apply your makeup, then your face is going to be nice. It shouldn't feel too tacky. If you've done it correctly, it should just feel, well, nice and normal. And remember, make sure you moisturize at the beginning, because hydrated skin will always make it easier for the primer to go on. And the primer acts as a moisturizer as well. And so you've got double moisturizer, sun protection, and then foundation on top. Remember, last tip, if you're not used to wearing foundation and it's something you want to try doing for the first time, when you go into a store to find a foundation, and I always recommend for the first time you get a foundation, go into a store to do it. Or if you're going to change the type of foundation you're using, perhaps you want something different from your foundation. For example, my skin needs hydration, so I always make sure I get a hydrating foundation, but I also like a Colourstay one, so it's going to last for a long time too. So if you're going to change which product you use, make sure you go to a shop the first time you do, and when you do a colour test, but do a colour test here, okay? Because this will show you if it's the same colour as your skin and if it's going to look different on your neck to the rest of your skin, because what we don't want is that line, okay? And our hands are a different colour to our face. So the age-old method of applying it to the back of the hand and going, oh yes, that looks good, you're going to get home and it's going to be a different shade on your face, especially when you take into account if you've primed your face correctly. So always make sure you test on the side of your neck, and any shop that says, hey, don't do that, go to a different store, because they should know by now that testing on the side of your neck is a much more effective way of getting the right colour for you. Anyway, I hope this has helped you to learn how to best put on your foundation. I'm off now to wash Spongy McSpongeface because he really needs it. And I will see you again next time on The World of Beth. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe so that you can get the next one. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I will respond to you as soon as possible. Thanks again and have a great day. Bye!